They're like building next door, and I don't know if the mic is picking this up. Hello everyone, and welcome back to my channel. So in today's video, I wanted to get a bit more personal, a bit more not just talking about fashion. I do have my little black book here, but that is just to help me with some notes. Let's just put this aside for now. In this video, I wanted to talk all things contraception, and I wanted to share my personal story of the contraception I used and why I came off contraception in the last few months and how I am feeling to date. So let's dive right in. Basically, I just want to talk about why I actually felt the need to make this video. And so basically, this video talks about contraception, specifically my contraception story, why I went on contraception, how it made me feel, and the events and situations in my life that made me eventually decide to come off contraception, how it's made me feel, why I decided to come off contraception, how it's making me feel. And yeah, so just kind of just share my story a little bit. I know contraception is really not talked about, but talked about at the same time. I have my notes here. I printed out like all my notes and timelines, some facts and stuff. So I'll mainly be looking at this, which is quite nice because usually I struggle to read my own handwriting. Now, I'm not going to lie to you. I don't fully remember my first appointment or how it kind of even just came to be. But I remember when I was younger and I was a kid, I got my period quite relatively early. I mean, at 12. And I remember around 13, 14 years old, I had really, really, really bad periods. Really bad period pains, really bad cramps, and like really heavy. And so I don't necessarily remember if it was a discussion I had with my parents or with my mother. I think it was more just, you've got your period, you've got really bad cramps, all your friends are going on the pill because of the cramps and the period pain, you should do it too, kind of thing. Like, I don't think it was ever a conversation of like, okay, you want to go on contraception, why do you want to go on contraception, what contraception do you want? It kind of, honestly, I just feel like I went with the flow. I like, you know, if everyone was wearing Converse, I'd be wearing Converse. It kind of feels like that. It was, okay, like now it's just time for me to get contraception. And I feel like everyone went to the doctor complaining about period pains, and every single doctor, the same solution was contraception. So I think looking back, I don't remember it being a proper discussion. I don't remember the appointment. I don't remember talking to the doctor about it. I don't remember anything. I just remember being on contraception. I don't remember if I was on contraception from the age of like 14, 15, and then when I started having sex, I already was on contraception. I think that's what happened. I don't think it was, okay, now I'm sexually active, I should go on contraception. Yeah. It honestly, it just, I don't remember it being a conversation. I don't remember it being a conversation with my friends. I don't remember it was just like, honestly, yeah, it just feels like that was a thing to do. So just get on the pill. And listen, okay, I moved at the age of 13 to London. I had, you know, quite a challenging social experience in high school. I wasn't awfully bullied or anything, but it came with these challenges. I'm not unique. Everyone has challenges with high school and high school experience. But so I don't know if it was the move. I don't know if it was the lack of self-understanding, self-worth. Everything I did living in South Africa, I no longer did in London. And I had to, like, at the age of 13, be like, what do I like? And I remember being like, I want to get into dance. And one of my friends was like, no, that's my thing. You know, kind of vibes. So anyway, long story short, from the ages of like 15 to 17, I was a raging fucking bitch. My mom and I hated each other, okay? If I could go 30 minutes without hating my mother, it was a blessing. Now, again, as I've said, teenage girls are a struggle anyway. I had the move, I had the challenges with social things at high school. So I don't want to say it was solely because of the contraception, but I think the contraception definitely added to my mood swings, added to just I think it added to like my weight gain, and I just wasn't a happy teenage young adult. I really wasn't. And I was on the pill. So, and sorry, I didn't mention that earlier. So I went on the pill at around the age of 13, 14, 15, give or take. Don't even remember. And yeah, and I was on the hormonal pill. So I definitely think it impacted. I don't think it was the sole factor of my mood swings and my bitchiness. I think that is just teenage girls coming of age. I think it's pretty common for teenage girls and mothers to hate each other at that point. But I definitely think the hormones added to it. Now, I will also say, I was on the hormonal pill, and the instructions I got from the doctor was, take this ideally at the same time every day. Ideally. He never said you have to do it. If you don't do it, it's a problem. He said ideally. And then he said to me, and if you don't, you have the 12-hour period, like a 12-hour window to take it. Now, that was the worst thing the doctor ever could have said to me, because I was like, okay, I will set my pill alarm to take my pill every day at 1 p.m. in the afternoon. And so I know if I've gone to bed that day and I haven't taken my pill, I still have time to take my pill. Because then it would be 12 hours after that would be 1 a.m. the next day. So if I got home from the club and it was like 11:30, 1, I would still take it, which I don't think that's how it works. I don't think if you take the pill 12 hours later, it does the same job. But wasn't communicated to me. What the communication I got was, take it ideally at the same time. If not, you have 12 hours. That's how I interpreted it, okay? Which isn't very good. So, and hands down, I wasn't ever taking my pill at 1 p.m. in the afternoon. Ever. It was 3, it was 5:30, it was 2:30 the next morning when I got home from the club. It was post-sex with my boyfriend at the time at 3 a.m. I never kept it on schedule. And if I missed that 1 a.m., so let's say I realized at 1:30 or 2, I would either not take it, or I would take it and then I would take it again the next day. So if I came home and I took it, let's say 2:30 in the morning, I would then take it again at 1 if I remembered. So sometimes it was a case of I took the pill and like 6 hours later, 4 hours later, I was taking the next pill. Now, me being the age I am now, I know that's not right. And I know that's not normal. Okay? So, yeah. And that's kind of like my, in a nutshell, young adolescence contraception story. I think every single one of my friends was on the pill. I remember it was, what pill are you on? Are you on this one? Are you on this one? And it had like fun names like the Jasmine or the this one. And it was like, oh my God, you're on the Jasmine. Same. Like, it was this weird kind of coolness to being on contraception, and it wasn't because of contraception. That's my perception of it, at least. But yeah, like a lot of my friends were on it. Always make sure your partner is wearing condoms, okay? I've not had a pregnancy scare, thank God. I've not had to do anything drastic like that, but I know people who have. I know people who have had pregnancy scares. I know people who have had kids out of wedlock. I know people who have got pregnant after a one-night stand, because condoms don't only, protect against pregnancy, but protect against STIs. It got to a point where I was like, I can't be doing this pill anymore. I'm not taking it reliably. I'm not taking it responsibly. I'm being a fucking idiot. And that was a lesson in itself of acknowledging that I'm being an idiot, which I think is a milestone. But yeah, like I don't know, I don't remember what the situation was. I do remember what the situation was. The situation was I was just being an idiot, and I was gonna sleep with this guy, and he was like, I want to put a condom on, and I was like, I don't really care, I'm on the pill. And he was like, that's not good enough for me. And I was like, oh shit, respect, because most boys at that age didn't care and would prefer not wrapping up. So that was an interesting one for me. And I think that started like shifting things. I was like, I need something a bit better than relying on the pill and relying on myself to like remember to take it, because it just wasn't working. And I was on the pill, as I said, I think from like 14, 15, maybe even earliest is like 13 and a half. All the way up until like 22, 21, 22. I was living abroad at this point, and I remember I came back and I was like, I'm just fucking done with these pills. I'm done. I don't want it. And luckily we have the NHS, so I was able to go to a sex clinic and get the IUD put in. Now, before I had the IUD put in, there was a discussion, a bit more research that I did. Not that much. I would say like I did a 30-minute Google search, and I spoke to like 2 friends. And I remember one of my friends at work at the time, she was on the implant and she let me feel it and she really liked it. And she was on the IUD and moved over to the implant. And then I remember speaking to someone else and she was like, I love the implant and I hated this. And, so I did a little bit more research, not a lot, but I did do a little bit. And the IUD was the only solution for me. And I do have very heavy periods, and I do get very heavy periods. And the coil, it's not 100% certain, but the coil can eliminate your periods. Now, I went on the IUD. It was horrible to put in. Like, I did it in central London. I was like, okay, easy. I'll go to central London. I'll take the tube home. No worry. Like, don't worry. And I had a horrible experience because I did have like a nurse trainee. And obviously I appreciate and understand everyone has to train and learn to be able to be Meredith Grey. But this nurse, oh my God, like he couldn't do it. He wasn't doing it. And after like 30 minutes, the person next to him was like, I'm going to take over. And I was like, yes, fucking please. So I don't think that helped my pain. And afterwards, I had to get an Uber home because I couldn't stand up straight. I was like, oh my God, I was in so much pain. So if you can't stand pain, don't do it. That being said, I will say this. When I went on the coil, I took my last pill that morning or something, and then they put the coil in, and then from there, it was just easy sailing. So it was a really horrible insertion and it was really painful. I'm not going to lie to you. If you are thinking of getting it, it is sore. Definitely go home and order some ice cream to the door because that's what I did and it was great. Yeah, I will say this. I loved being on the IUD. I loved it. I loved it. It was just, you could put it in. You don't have to think about it for 5 years. It was great. I loved it. Like, I'm not going to lie, I loved it. And, yeah, like, I didn't think about it. The funny thing is, though, I went on the IUD because I wanted contraception. It wasn't like, oh, I'm going to do this for my hormone balances or my periods or anything. I wanted my periods to get lighter or completely stop. And they did. I was very lucky that they did, and I didn't have to buy tampons or anything, Nurofen or hot water bottles or tampons, nothing. I saved all this money. You know how much money I saved from not having to buy like period paraphernalia for 5 years of my life? A lot of money. Okay, that shit's expensive. All right. yeah, so that's kind of what happened, and I went on it for contraception because I was like, I don't want to think about it. I was at the point in my life, I will admit, where I was like, I just want to fucking go out. I just want one night stands. I don't want to think about it. I just want to have fun. I just got out of a 4-year relationship. I moved countries. I was like, let's fucking go. Okay. The funny thing is though, I went back because I got the IUD done in London, but then I went back, because I was living abroad, and I had a couple of sex, a couple of one night stands. But for the majority of the time I was on the IUD, I was not sexually active because I had a couple of one night stands. I had like a sex friend, you know? And then when he disrespected me, I was like, I can't fucking do this. I fucking hate men. I'm over it. And I went celibate for 2.5 years. 2.5 years, yeah. I went celibate for 2.5 years, but I was still in the IUD because I loved the fact that I didn't have to buy period stuff, and I didn't have periods. I didn't have pain. I had a little pain. You could tell I was on my period because of the mood swings or the pimples, but other than that, I'm not gonna lie to you. I hate periods. I think they're gross. I think they're messy. I fucking hate them. But I'm a woman, and that's just the part of being a fucking woman, isn't it? So that's basically what happened. I had fun. I enjoyed myself. The majority of the time I was on the IUD. I was not sexually active, which I think is ironically fucking funny. And then it honestly started earlier this year. So earlier this year, 2 things happened. And one, I was like, okay, it's up. My time's up. It's been 5 years since I've had it in. 2025. I remember them writing it on the card. I don't specifically remember if it was February or August or October, but 2025, I want this thing out. I want it out, and I want a new one put in. Now, I then went to the NHS and I went to my local GP and I said, this is the situation, this is the IUD I'm on, this is whatever. And she turns around being like, oh, well, the IUD you're on actually just got extended from 5 years to 8 years. So you actually have an additional 3 years with this in you. And I was like, okay, cool. But surely they should change it, because how do they know which IUDs are okay to extend and which ones aren't? And so that just didn't sit right with me. And then I started noticing every month I actually started getting a period again. And not only that, the pain got worse. My pain got worse. And then I started actually getting my period again. And not only that, they were getting longer and longer and more painful. And it got to a point where it was like March. And I was like, I feel like I've been on my period for a whole month. And I did the calculations and I did everything and I went through pictures, and because I don't have the app or anything. Maybe I'll get it now, but I went through all my pictures. I was like, okay, I know that outfit. I was wearing this. I was on my period at this point. And I realized, I was literally on my period for 3 weeks. Non-stop. Yes, it was light. Yes, it was, but non-stop. And the pain was getting worse. And even if I wasn't bleeding, I could have really bad cramps and pain. And I basically went to the doctor and I was like, I don't think I'm okay. I will also say I was also dating someone at this point fairly early on. We only dated for 4 months. So it was fairly early on to us seeing each other. And that, I didn't know if that was working or that was, I don't know. But just something wasn't sitting right. And I got loads of IUDs. Got loads of them. Every time we would hook up or anything, I would have, it just wasn't going away. And I had to take the medication. And because of the medication, I got this thing, and because of that medication, and then I got this thing again, and it was just a never-ending cycle. And when I was fine, I was on my period. It just wasn't going, and I just kept saying I don't think I'm okay. And I went to this GP, and I went to this sex clinic, and I went all over, because it wasn't sitting right. And they're like, nah, you're fine. The IUD, you're fine. You're fine. You're fine. And then it got to a point where I was like, okay, I'm seeing this guy for like 4 months now. Since I met him, every single month, like, I have some sort of issue down there. And it's not fun. It's not painful. I'm spending too much time at hospital appointments, in sex clinics, and at doctor's appointments. I can't do this every week. I can't be in this pain every week. It was horrible. I'm not gonna lie to you. It was horrible. And every single doctor was like, you're fine, you can extend it. And I said, yeah, but what if I want it out? They're like, oh, you don't need to have it out. And so basically I just got to a point where I was like, I can't fucking do this anymore. I can't have this thing and then this illness because of the repercussions of this medication. Like, it was a non-stop, okay? It was horrible, and I didn't know if it was because of the guy or because of my contraception. So basically, I just woke up one day and I was like, I want this thing out of me. I felt repulsed. I felt gross, and I was just like, ugh. Okay, like there was just something that came over me, and I basically then spoke to some of my friends, and one of my friends is like very anti-contraception. So she was like, yeah, like, you know, she's never been on it, like all of this. And so she, you know, talked very highly of like not being on contraception. And then, you know, we talked about this over dinner, and then literally the next day I woke up and I was like, okay, she's fucking right. I need this thing out of me. Like, this is gross. And I think it was that afternoon or the following day, I was lucky enough to get an appointment. Very lucky. I was very lucky to get an appointment very quickly, and it was out. It was out of me, and it was out of me in like 5 minutes. And it was just great. And I've been off of contraception now for about 4 months. 4 months. And I haven't really noticed anything in terms of weight gain, weight loss. Maybe I've gained a little bit, but I've also not been going to the gym as much because I've been a little lazy recently, and I've been eating a lot of chocolate because now that I have a period, I eat a lot of chocolate. So in terms of that, I can't really say yes, being off contraception made me gain weight, vice versa. What I can definitively tell you is being off contraception, I have never felt more free, more happy. Granted, I have not been sexually active, so that one will be an interesting take if I do become sexually active again. Not if, when. I'd like to hope I do. So I haven't put that one to the test yet, but in terms of myself, and I'm very much on like a self-love journey and everything, I feel great. I feel amazing. I feel happy. And I don't know if that's just everything in my life and all the stars are just aligning right now, or it's down to the contraception. But if you ask my mom this, she would tell you every few months I would have a breakdown. I'd be on a high, and every few months I'd be on a breakdown. And I'd cry, and I'd be like, I hate my life, I hate my job, my friends hate me, these people hate me, I have no boyfriend, I'm gonna die alone. Like, I would break down, and I haven't, which is nice. But yeah, like, I have no other way to describe it, but I just feel very free. I feel very happy, and I know happiness is a mindset, happiness is a fleeting moment, you can't live in happiness. I understand that, but it's the only way I can say. I just feel happy. I just feel calm. I just feel, yes, like, you know, yes, my acne is a little worse, I would say, since coming off contraception. But that's it, you know, and I can live with one pimple, you know, a month. So, yeah, like so that's kind of like my story in a nutshell. And basically, I would recommend getting off contraception because okay, it's really difficult. I think if I meet someone and I want to get on contraception, I will immediately get the IUD again. No brainer. Okay. But I am so happy I'm off contraception. I highly, highly recommend it for a lot of people. Now looking back on it, it just doesn't feel natural. It doesn't feel normal to have a pill or something inside of you releasing like hormones every day or whatever it was doing. It just doesn't feel normal. It doesn't seem natural to me anymore. And I think thousands of years ago women did it, so why can't I? Um and yeah, like I just feel very happy about it. I feel very happy about my decision of coming off contraception. I think it's nice to feel in tune with my body. It's nice to feel happy again. It's nice to know that my emotion that it's nice to know that the emotion I'm feeling is actually the emotion I'm feeling, and it's not just from hormones being pumped into my body. um yeah, so I really highly recommend it if you are thinking of making the change, because I feel freer, I feel more relaxed, and I just feel more feminine. I feel more in tune with my intuition, with my body. It, I feel prettier internally, and I think that's the most important thing. I can put makeup on, I can do my hair, I can wear a nicer outfit, but like right now I feel so beautiful on the inside, and my heart feels beautiful. And I think that's the most important thing. And I think if you love yourself through within, then you'll shine bright without. But yeah, like I feel very happy about this decision, and I feel very happy that I'm not on contraception and I don't have to think about it anymore. Yes, when I do become sexually active again, I will have to take that step and think about it and discuss it with the partner when he magically shows up and knocks at my door. I think I've seen a little bit of a trend in the increase of women coming off contraception. And yeah, like I'm not some massive feminist. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm not some massive feminist or whatever, but these contraception pills and gadgets and things, I don't believe are made by women for women. I don't believe that at all. I think they're made by men for women, and I don't think men can make something for a woman unless you're John Galliano or Christian Dior or Yves Saint Laurent. You can't do it. Okay, that's my opinion. Just it doesn't sit right with me anymore. It doesn't seem right, and I think when the time comes that I want to have a child, I want to be able to have a child naturally, and I want my body to, I don't know, like, is it, like when you stop smoking, does your body, how your body like regenerates, like does your womb regenerate? I don't know, but I do know someone who was on a lot of contraception. She did the pill, she did the IUD, and she did the implant, and because of all of that, she is now unable to have children. So I don't want that to be me. I don't want that to be the case. I don't want it to be, oh, you were taking the pill for 15 plus years and because of that you can't have a kid. If you asked me that a year ago, I think I'd be pretty happy. Anyone in London that is looking for a sex clinic, please either go to the Jeffrey Wing at the hospital. I think it's in Paddington, but I don't think it's called the Paddington Hospital, but it's called the Jeffrey Wing. Or alternatively, please go to Dean Street in Soho. I have gone to Dean Street multiple times. This is where I got my thing taken out. I love Dean Street. I respect everyone that works at Dean Street. I think what they're doing is amazing, amazing work. Everything is free, and the venue is nice. You feel like you're in a private medical facility. It doesn't feel cheap. It doesn't feel free. It's really good. And the practitioners and everyone I've come into contact with when I've been there have been super amazing, super helpful and understanding, educational, and just respectful. So please, if you are in need of any sort of sexual clinic and you're in the London area, head to Dean Street. If you're in the UK, please try call your NHS, go to your GP, or take a trip to London to go to Dean Street, because they will sort you out. This is not sponsored by them, obviously.